In moving forward, we need to heal. We
Absolutely.
need to know that we are all on this table of this hurt and pain, and we should try as much as possible to fix it. And we must be able to do justice. The greatest form of reparation for me is justice.
Yeah.
And we must stop the marginalization against the Ibos.
Friends, I want you to watch a Yoruba historian and a Yoruba general, captain also, almost crying, for the Ibos, for the lies that be told against the Ibos and the marginalization against the Ibos. Guys, please, you see, some of us even we have been told lies about this Nigeria for long, but let's hear the truth now. Now, IBB has come out to say that the 1966 coup that they were saying is the Igbo coup, is the lies of Redo Moki have been using against the Igbos. IBB has come out to say that it's not the Igbo coup. And I want you to listen to this historian, also listen to this captain. Please. I was touched listening to these guys. Old men almost cry for the Igbos. And yet you won't let them go. You won't stop the lies against them. You won't stop the marginalization against them. How long is this going to continue? Please, if you hate oppression, like this video, please share it.
These people, the coup plot at revolutionary, they did not have intention of taking over Abacha to be the head of state. They had it in mind to put Awolowo there as the prime minister. So how can you now call that an Igbo coup? When they had they want the Yoruba man to lead the country.
We are looking at the book Colonel Victor Banjo, A Revolutionary Betrayed, a book written by Borishade, who is my guest on State Affairs. Books like this excites me. They talk about where we are coming from. And if we are able to understand where we are coming from, we would know why we are where we are. And if we don't understand what to do to solve the problems of now, we will see how the future will be a repetition of the past. That is the power of books. So you should be reading this book. You should have a copy of this book of history, politics, and power. Colonel Victor Banjo, A Revolutionary Betrayed. Mr. Borishade, you were talking about Awolowo.
That's correct.
So let me read what the author wrote on page 71. The first paragraph of page 71. He says, those who planned the coup had a formidable plan to establish a diarchy as the preferred system of government and had planned to install Chief Obafemi Awolowo as the prime minister and would have provided efficient security throughout the country that would have made it impossible for any counter coup to succeed. Nia Borishade says if Awolowo had been installed, it would have been difficult for the North to attack the whole South because the Yoruba would have joined forces with the Igbo to repel any attack from the North. Even Gowon and Danjuma would not have tried it.
Yes.
You should show that all this would have happened.
Because the revolutionary will be in power. They will be the one to install Awolowo and they will protect his government. When genuine revolutionaries are in power, they know what to. They had a plan. Unlike Ironsi, who find himself in power without any concrete plan.
Well, are you sure they wanted to hand over to Awolowo?
Yes. Ademoyega said it. Ben Gule said it. Awolowo himself confirmed it in his book that initially they wanted to hand over to him. That was the plan. This Awolowo confirmed. In fact, they wanted to set someone, Captain Hude, to effect this the release of Awolowo in Calabar there. They would have released him and fly him to Lagos on the day of the coup. Of course, the captain did not turn up. I remember my dad told me that on that night when the coup happened, the thugs of Fanika Ode came, they were living around the same area. They said the people of Action Group, they have taken over the government. So they alluded it to Awolowo initially, because it was unprecedented coup in Nigeria.
Now, when you are, from the records, we saw that when you are being cross-examined by the council to the commission in Enugu, you said it was the North that waged war on Biafra.
The North, in fact, the first division from the North descended on Biafra from Nsukka.
Is that the first division of Northern Nigerian Army?
Of course, it is not first division of Northern Nigerian Army, but it was commanded by the Northern troops, Northern officers and men.
And that's your basis of saying it was the North that waged war on Biafra?
I said actually it was Nigeria that waged war, not Biafra waging war on Nigeria.
No, you said the North in your evidence.
It must be lapsus linguae.
Thank you very much. Now, you said it was in your book and in your evidence that the coup at 1966 January was long overdue.
That was what I felt. That was my opinion.
Do you still feel that a military coup is the best solution to political problems of countries such as Nigeria? Now, as you are there now on oath.
The situation in 1966 cannot by any means be equated to the situation now in Nigeria.
Now, do you agree? Now, what I'm saying is, maybe you don't understand my question.
I do understand your question. In 1966, how I felt then might not necessarily be how I feel now.
Okay. Do you still believe that military as an alternative to political government or to democratic government is the best solution?
Right now that I am an old man, I feel otherwise.
Okay. And you know that that first attempt you made was the beginning of the military incursion into democratic rule in Nigeria.
Very right. It is not the handover or button changing that you keep having after that.
Okay. Now the Ohaneze petition and your evidence said there was to be a planned jihad on January 17th. It came from your evidence.
I said it's in my book, which was published in 1981.
Listen to my question, please.
Yes, I said so.
Now, immediately after talking about the jihad, they said the coupists.
There's nothing called.
Listen now, those who planned the coup is the same thing.
The coup plotters.
Yes, the coup plotters, it doesn't matter. The coup plotters were to install Chief Awolowo as the president.
That's what they plan to do.
Which of them? Those who planned the jihad or your own? Those who planned.
You talk about planning the jihad. Those of us concerned with the coup of January 66 did not plan any jihad.
Yes.
In fact, they carried the coup, they moved fast to preempt jihad. That's what I said.
Listen,
and
no.
It's so well recorded.
No, it's no question of well recorded. You see, you planned a coup.
Beautiful.
The Ohaneze petition alleged that that coup was to prevent a jihad on the 17th.
Beautiful.
The following sentence in their petition says, those coup plotters wanted to install Chief Awolowo as the president of Nigeria. Something is amiss somewhere. Is it your group that wanted to install Chief Awolowo or the jihadists? That's what I want you to declare to the commission.
The book I tendered here is very specific on it. Awolowo was to come and be the head of government.
That's your arrangement?
Our own, yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay. Now, do you believe that Ibos are being marginalized?
Of course Ibos are being marginalized.
Okay.
Let me tell you something.
Wait, you have answered my question. Now, one of your witnesses said Ibos are everywhere in this country and doing everything. They are so friendly and they are involved in every trade and business in every nook and corner of this country.
Is that how you appreciate?
Answer the question.
Is that how you appraise marginalization?
Answer the question.
Every individual. Let me tell you what is wrong with this country.
Sorry, my lord.
Every individual.
My lord, I want you to answer my
struggles
question.
on his own. Every individual. So Igbos being everywhere shows that Igbos are the best Nigerians. They are the best Nigerians. They are everywhere. They are true Nigerians.
You should have waited for my question.
No, but I must preempt even your question. You see, Igbos, if you are talking about marginalization, it isn't in terms of Igbos individually working as individuals.
In what context is the marginalization?
Exactly. For instance, the question of appointments, the question of things that belong to us in general, in fact, even the question of depriving Ibos of their rights. This is marginalization.
Now, you said in the Ohaneze petition that Ibos are only one out of 400 ethnic groups in this country. You agree?
Could you please restrict yourself to the statements I made?
You are supposed to answer my questions. If you
didn't-
don't know, say you don't know.
Uche Chukwumereji has answered that kind of question. I am dealing with January coup, and that Ohaneze has partitioned everything. My compartment is January coup 66.
My friend, you are here as the witness to the commission, and it is my right to ask you questions, and you have an obligation to answer them. If you don't know how to answer, say you don't know.
The truth
You
is
should not-
that you said that I falsified history. I want to know
I didn't
where
say-
in my statement, it is in your letter. I want to know where in my statement
I
I
said it is
falsified
in
history.
the record of Ohaneze, and you are their witness. And you agree with me that Ohaneze are complaining of marginalization.
Of course.
Now, do you agree with what Ohaneze said?
I agree that Ohaneze is right in saying that Igbos are marginalized.
And they are also right in saying that there are over 400 ethnic groups in Nigeria.
There are too many, even more than 400 if you like.
And you also agree with what they said, that the Ibos constitute about 16% of the population of this country.
I would have said actually 25%.
Okay. Now, do you have any statistics to show that the Ibos in appointments do not have up to 25% in the federal service? Do you have any statistics?
My
If
Lord,
you don't have, say you don't
let
have.
me answer it. Don't rush me. How can you have statistics when we don't have true census figures in Nigeria?
I'm not talking
How
of.
can you? You are talking about statistics. Let us have census figures first.
Because we don't have census figures, then we don't have statistics.
Then you are
of
imagining
appointments in
A
federal.
lot of people are dreaming dreams in this country. Some people put the population of this Nigeria at 120 million. Some said 100. Some said 100. When are we going to have our figures? True figures.
Please answer my question. We're talking about appointments. You said you are being marginalized in appointments. Do you have any statistics to show that you do not have up to 25%?
Ohaneze can supply that, and I believe that Ohaneze has supplied that.
They have not supplied it.
Well, you go to Ohaneze to supply it.
No.
Let me go on what I know.
Now, military regimes, just like the one you wanted to bring in, come on their own. And when they rule as military regimes.
Sometimes, not all the time.
Not all the time.
If you like, I name your military regimes that use civilians to get on with rulership or governance.
Just like civilians use you in 66. There was never any military regime in this country that ruled without civilians.
Fair
that
enough.
ruled without civilians.
Good. I'm happy you are confirming it. That's what I said.
Yes. And there was never any military regime in this country that ruled without representation from across this country.
We never ruled Nigeria.
No, I'm not talking
We of January 66 never ruled Nigeria. So you are not in a position to know who should have been in the government if we actually wanted to rule Nigeria.
Okay. Now, in 1966, 60% of the officers of the Nigerian army were Ibos.
60% of the officer corps
Were
of the
Igbos.
Nigerian. That is in fact an estimate, yes.
Yes. And at that time, from your evidence and your book, one of the things worrying the Igbo officers was that there was the Nigerianization of the army, and some people were insisting on quota.
You know, I took advantage of Nigerianization of the army. So I could not condemn Nigerianization of the army.
No, I'm not saying you.
What we took exception from was the question of anybody in trousers becoming an officer. That's what we took exception from.
Okay. Now, when you left the army as a captain.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
I didn't leave the army. I was bundled into prison.
Okay, and then from there dismissed or retired.
Up till tomorrow, we were not tried, so I don't know whether it's dismissed or retired.
And all this is because you are involved in the January 66.
Exactly.
General Enjuma.
And as I told you, even Gawan did not try us.
Yes.
Rather, he gave one of us, our leader, he gave our leader a military burial and gave him full military honors whilst he detained us. And you could kill Ironsi for not trying us. And he left that gentleman for not trying us either.
Now, at the time you planned the coup, or you were planning the coup, you knew that if the coup failed, your career in the army is finished.
Fantastic, you are right.
Then
I knew.
Yes. Then why were you complaining that some of your mates were major generals?
You see, the trouble is that
they didn't plan a coup. They were good Nigerians. That's why they became major generals.
A lot of them became major generals because of coups.
Successful
and in fact,
coups.
they promoted themselves. You should have known that. Why are you laughing? You should have known that. They promoted themselves. That's why other countries laugh at us. Please go ahead.
Yes, I'll go ahead, Mr. Bule. Mr. Bule, now in your book, you tried to state the reasons why you people gathered to organize the coup.
You're right.
Now, thinking back now, do you still regard those reasons as valid?
Very.
Listen, for a military takeover instead of a democratic change of government. You understand the question?
The reasons were as valid then as they are valid today. The killings in the West and the killings in TV area prompted, in fact, an action from us. And there were other reasons. There were other reasons. They're all enumerated in the book I had tendered.
Now, you use the word, the rank colonel now, because you are promoted in the Biafran army.
Beautiful.
And
I prefer it.
And Ojukwu also promoted himself.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I don't know. When he comes, you will ask him.
Now, from certain publications we read, credited to you, you were not in very good terms with Ojukwu.
I am happy you said this.
Yes.
In other words, I have my own views on every issue. I am happy you said this.
Yes.
Because I fought the war on the Biafran side. I criticized Ojukwu for taking certain measures. And I'm happy you have my book there, The Fall of Biafra. I have my own views. Just as I had my own views in Nigeria when I was an army officer. And my views tallied with some views by other people.
Now, do you know that, like I said earlier, in every corner of this country there are Ibos living peacefully with other Nigerians?
Living peacefully?
Yes, with other Nigerians.
Well, there are Ibos, correct, but living peacefully, I don't know. Because they are being murdered at every turn. They are being slaughtered at every turn. Anytime there was any riot, they are slaughtered. And you should have known that too.
Are you speaking on facts or on what you read on the pages of newspapers?
Well, all I can tell you is that there's even a case here.
There are Ibos across northern Nigeria.
Probably Akaloka is living happily, isn't he? Probably.
Do you know what Akaluka did? You brought the issue. Do you know what Akaluka did? Do you know the facts?
Whatever he did.
Listen, do you know the facts?
Whatever he did, he should have been subjected to the rule of law.
Listen, do you know the facts?
The rule of law should have applied.
Do you know the facts about Akaluka?
You said that I listened to the radio and I read the papers.
Look,
I read the papers.
Oh, so
all I know is that he is not alive today to even deny what he's been said to have done.
Do you know that as a result of a Kaluka, 20 House of Fulani people were killed?
That is what you said. We have not been told this. Have you sent any delegation to Igbo land to explain the Kaluka issue? Have you sent any delegation to Igbo land?
You are not supposed to ask me questions. You have to answer my
I'm
questions.
sorry. I'm awfully sorry, my lord.
Okay.
All I can tell you is that you are begging the question with regard to Kaluka because he's not around. He's dead already.
Very well said. Sums up the whole conversation there. While in another development, the Igbo Apex Group, Ohaneze Ndi Igbo, on Sunday demanded an apology of and 10 trillion naira in compensation from President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to be paid to the Ibos following the revelation by former military president Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida that the 1966 coup was not an Igbo coup as alleged. The revelation was contained in IBB's memoir, A Journey in Service. The group noted that the coup unleashed disastrous repercussions on the Igbo people, among other factors, which ultimately led to the horrors of the Biafra War. Let me take their statement in part. The group wrote, the Apex Igbo Social Cultural Organization, Ohaneze Ndi Igbo, extends its profound appreciation to General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida for his remarkable courage in officially declaring that the January 1966 coup was unequivocally not an Igbo coup. This pivotal acknowledgement is not merely a correction of historical nomenclature, but a significant moment in our collective pursuit of justice and reconciliation, signaling a potential end to the historical vindictiveness and cruelty that have been pervasive in federal government policies towards the Igbo nation. His forthright exemption of the Igbo from the egregious classification as enemies of the northern region in the aftermath of the coup is both timely and necessary, even if it arrives decades later. The mislabeling of the 1966 coup has unleashed disastrous repercussions upon the Igbo people, most tragically culminating in the January 1966 counter-coup, which decimated a military head of state of Igbo descent. The staggering loss of life, with approximately 3 million Igbos, predominantly innocent women and children, slaughtered during this conflict, continues to reverberate through our collective consciousness. In light of these egregious injustices and the deliberate neglect exhibited by successive administrations, Ohaneze Ndi Igbo hereby restates its demands as articulated previously during the Justice Oputa-led Judicial Commission for the Investigation of Human Rights Violation panel in 1999. The present federal government, led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, must recognize this moment as an opportunity to extend a public and unequivocal apology on behalf of previous military regimes. Our demand for 10 trillion naira in reparations remains steadfast. This figure is not arbitrary, but a symbolic recognition of the indelible losses of the Igbo people have endured, or the Igbo people have endured. The time has come for true acknowledgement of these historical wrongs, which can only be rectified through reparations and sincere apologies. I mean, this was a detailed conversation, detailed statement. And, there's been a lot of reactions since that, excerpt of IBB's memoir came out where he debunked or dismissed the fact that the 1966 coup was an Igbo coup. A quick comment before I take some reactions.
Oji, take the reactions. I can't have
No, go ahead. Go ahead with your comment. I'll take this reaction after your comment.
See, IBB did not need to write in his book that it was not an Igbo coup before I had known that it was not an Igbo coup. Mm-hmm. For references, I have read, if not my last count, over 10 to 15 books on the war and what happened around that time. One of the most updated one that was not really biased was St0ln's account of the Nigerian Civil War. I've read Philip Evio's account, The Cage Bird Sings. I've read, Frederick Foster. I've read many accounts. It was not an Igbo coup. There was no Igbo coup. The narrative of an Igbo coup was to be able to hang, a particular ethnic group in all of that. These were a bunch of idealists that said, oh, the way forward to obliterate this political class, this thieving political, and their problems then was the same thieving political class.
The coup plotters.
Yes. That they became very idealistic. And where did that mindset come from? It came from the elections and the fight that ensued after the second elections, after the 59, I think the 64 elections, where they saw what the political class was doing, where they saw what was happening in the south and other regions of the country. So this bunch of idealists felt that they could save the country, which was a big mistake. Ademoye that wrote the book Why We Struck was not an Igbo man. Kaduna Nzego was from Okpanam. Kaduna Nzego was so Hausa. The Igbo doctrine was born in the north. His name was Kaduna because he was born in Kaduna. So all of this was part of the sentiment that they used for this war then. And there are many copious accounts. It was just a bunch of idealists. They felt the way to go was the way to clean up the system, but it was wrong. There was no ethnic. The same narrative of ethnic coloration stemmed from what the political class started infusing, so that there was going to be a fight back, coupled with the media. And that's why foreign medias also played a role in this. And they whipped up that sentiment, and it started to snowball into the anarchy.
Right.
In moving forward, we need to heal. We need to know that we are all on this table of this hurt and pain, and we should try as much as possible to fix it. And we must be able to do justice. The greatest form of reparation for me is justice.
Yeah.
And we must stop the marginalization against the Ibos. Infrastructure must be built in that land.
All right.
We must allow infrastructure go round. Yes, we have development commission across all regions now. There are statutory transfers to the budget.
Yeah.
We must be able to pump money there. Also, we must bring about federal infrastructural present development. Then we must also stop this talk. An Igbo man cannot be president. Who said so? Who said so? Because you see, these people forget a lot. After the Civil War, one of the paths to reconciliation was a deliberate attempt by the two key political parties to have Philip Omiedi as the running mate of Awolowo and what's his name now? The number one,
Alex Ekweme.
Alex Ekweme, the first man to get a PhD in architecture in Nigeria.
All right.
So we need to be able to bring ourselves to this table of recompense and bring the conversation clear on the table that we must fight for a path to peace and stop this Igbophobia and hate against Igbos and all of that. All of us must be one to make this unity work.
All right, so you're up for that, compensation, the 10 trillion. I mean, there's been conversation about, how that amount of money.
No,
there should be some sort of wider consultation as to how Ohaneze arrived at that amount of money.
But for me, due compensation.
You believe in due compensation.
A lot of federal infrastructure in the east and other parts that have been disgruntled in the country. Sustainable ones. That's what I don't know about 10 trillion.
All right.
But I'm all about justice.
So let me take a comment that followed that story. This is from Justin Collins, who wrote, Ohaneze and Igbos demand for an apology and 10 trillion naira in compensation from President Tinubu following IBB's clarification about the 1966 coup underscores the Igbos deserving recognition of their historical grievances. This call for reparation reflects the ongoing need for acknowledgement of past injustices in the nation. The 1966 coup was never an Igbo coup. It was a narrative instigated by the Hausa, Fulani, and other tribes to deny the Igbos their rightful place in Nigeria's leadership. This misrepresentation has fueled decades of injustice against the Igbo people. And, that sums up the sort of conversation we're hearing from the sides of, whether or not we're going to pay reparation. Well, amidst all the revelations made in IBB's book, a historic video of the late Chief MKO Abiola's appeal to General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida in June 1993, shortly after the annulment of the June 12 presidential election, has resurfaced online. In his address, Abiola urged Babangida to reverse the annulment and horror and return the will of the Nigerian people, emphasizing the need for democracy and justice. Let's take a look.
I must appeal to Babangida. If he really truly loves Nigeria, he should set Nigeria free. If he becomes a civilian, as the army seems to be telling him to do now, it will make things a lot easier. Because it will be one civilian against the other. A man with a loaded gun, it takes a lot of courage to confront him the way God has had to make me do in the last few days, in the last few weeks. But if he did not want a transition, why order an election?
All right, reactions galore. Well, Sadiq Abacha, son of the late military head of state, Sani Abacha, has defended his father following allegations that forces led by his father, who was then chief of defense staff, orchestrated the annulment of June 12, when in a post on Facebook on Saturday, Sadiq praised his father's legacy and expressed confidence that history will ultimately judge him favorably. His post reads, "The man Abacha, you have always been the man they have envied with silent deceit. History shall remember you for being a better leader, no matter how much they try to put you down. As a son, I'm most proud of you today. You indeed are the man they wish they were half of." Well, Sadiq concluded his statement with, a Hausa phrase, which means whoever utters insult at a public market knows who they are intended for. I mean, this was a trending post. Ayo, you're shaking your head. It was a trending post on, and we also saw Gusu Abacha's tweet where she wrote "weakling" on X, a direct dig at IBB. Ayo, quickly.
All right. I think it's only in a place like Nigeria that would give guts to these children to come out and speak like this. Mm-hmm. And like I said earlier, even though traditionally you don't want to speak bad about your father is the best thing despite what he's done, I would still say that common sense should prevail. And maybe it speaks to the level of education or how enlightened or perhaps the part of truth about their father that they know about. Let's not even begin to speak. They say it's not good to speak ill of the dead.
Yes.
But it's also important to speak the fact and not rewrite history.
Yes.
Maybe the history he's saying will be kind to his father. Maybe after the passage of time, we'll now see a number of Nigerians gather around and give, eulogize his dad and say, let's not remember that his father was responsible for the death of a number of key Nigerians.
Yes.
And that a lot of people do not have their parents alive because of the actions of his father. Let us not glamorize Abacha. Beyond that, they call him the gift that keeps giving. He stole from Nigeria so much that how many years after his death we are still benefiting from the loots that he stole and still finding out more.
Absolutely.
Please, the Abacha family should just keep quiet and enjoy whatever it is they're enjoying and leave Nigerians to just think of the years or try to forget the evil years of the Abacha days. That's what I would say.
Well said, Ayo. There was a breakdown, 30 cents made I was trending over the weekend. I mean, I wish we had that to pull up. And they broke down how much money that, Abacha had looted over the years. 30 cents did the Lord's work. And then, still counting. We're still... and what have we done with those monies in any ways? But let me... Fem. But Professor Anthony Killer, this memoir has, generated reactions. But you know what? In 2019, President Muhammadu Buhari stated that he would not write a book expressing concerns, that doing so might lead him to criticize certain individuals, which he wished to avoid to prevent causing harm to their families. Let's take a look.
Some people said I should write a book. I don't think I will ever write a book. Mainly, I don't want to hurt anybody. Hurting in the sense that there are certain people that I cannot resist abusing. But that hasn't got anything to do with their children and their grandchildren. So I don't want to hurt their children and grandchildren. So for the sake of their children and grandchildren, I have left them.
I mean, history, we need that. I don't know why Buhari is saying he won't write a book. Ogasa, we need a book from you. Go ahead.
You need a book from me.
Yes. I mean, I don't know about this story. I think depends on the kind of... Go ahead. What did you... Prof said what?
Prof, when you say you need a book of Prof, that way.
Yes. He wants to tell me. Go ahead.
Well, I think Buhari can be accused of many things.
Yes.
He can be imagined as many things, but not an intellectual. Not as a writer.
They are
He's a
ghost
man
writers,
made
Professor
Gatsby,
Killer.
You need even to tell